who is this woman? And I ask myself, who am I? You know, why? Why did I get to this? And the answer boils down to, well, I left Islam. I chose the principles of the House of Liberty. But they came at a price. And I knew I would have to pay that price. And that price first came with the rejection of, again, my father, and again my mother, and the threats, and the bodyguards. It's because I am an apostate of Islam. I can't just reflect on myself and say, oh, yay, I got out. Why don't I just lead my life and be happy? Live and let live. Because that's not fair. Because I know there are thousands, millions of others who somehow didn't have that window of opportunity, didn't take that train, didn't get to Holland, didn't have that 10-year opportunity to think things over until they were jolted out of balance. And when I was jolted out of balance, then found an alternative moral compass. And that is my message.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful.
Yes, thank you. من قتل نفسا واحدا فكأنه قتل الناس جميعا ومن أحيا نفسا واحدا كأنه أحيا الناس جميعا. That means whoever killed one person whoever killed one person kills all people, and whoever save one person save all people. Please, when you want to say anything about Islam, say whole things from the beginning to the end, to all people here understand exactly. Don't give like a small part to express yourself about, or like your bad situation before about Islam.
To your statement, your quotation about, you know, in the Quran it says, if you kill a man, it's as if you killed all humanity. I invite you all, because you're all literate, the Quran is not a big book, look for it, and a follow-up sentence says, except. And then you get the unbelievers and a whole long list of people who only need not be killed on earth, but are going to boil and broil in hell. And what I find so exciting and interesting and amazing about literate Muslims who argue not only with me, but anybody who's critical of the Quran is, it's okay for you to quote part of the Quran, which you think is legit, but everything else, kill the infidels, ambush, take their property, beat the women, take your wife wherever you want, etc., 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 you pretend as if that is not in there. Great, but it's a great improvement that at least we agree on. You read the rest of that verse and see who the exceptions are, and you'll be amazed.
Thank you. You said, and I'm quoting you, you said that Islam allows a husband to beat their wife if the wife misbehaves. I understand that you have a copy of the Quran with you, and I would like to know what your references are to support that argument.
Where does it say that a disobedient wife should be beaten? Chapter 4, note down any translation. Chapter 4, verse 34. The chapter is called Suratul Nisa, or the chapter on women. Chapter 4, verse 34. Now, I always wonder, unfortunately, in this context, I cannot ask you what will happen to you if you see it. And it says there in most translations, beat her, scourge her. And then in the softened translations that are modernized, it says, spank her.
I want to say something. Also that we treat our women as a queen in her palace. Like there's nothing say in Quran that the women, we have to treat her as slaves. One. So she's really a queen in her balance in our home. She's stay, she doing nothing. Maybe she do homework. And finally, we work outside as slaves, as we are men. We are the slaves people working outside, and we give her money, we give her food, we give her whatever she wants. If she want to go to work, she can go to work, she can do whatever she wants. This is what the Islam. But if we want to talk about Islam, if she cover herself from up to down, this is not everywhere in the Islam, but it's must. I didn't say no. But if you go, you talk about your experience in Saudi Arabia, it's not whole Middle East. Because there's Lebanon, there's Syria. Go to Lebanon. Lebanon, almost you can say it's second in French. So I'm sorry, maybe I'm taking a long time. Just everybody to know that we aren't bad with our women. We are really so nice. And by the way, I'm married with an American woman who is free. And I am Muslim person. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, for the last question, I don't know where to start. Let me start with, we are so nice to our women. In Lebanon and in Syria, and the Muslim world is not Saudi Arabia. It's true, the Muslim world is not Saudi Arabia. Wherever the West has touched and really left a mark, things are different for Muslim women. If you take countries like Algeria, Tunisia, and indeed Lebanon and Syria, then the situation for women and the situation in general is different. Now here's a measure I'll give you. The more Sharia or Islamic law a place has, the more evil it is, the more terrible it is, the more horrible it is for women, for gay people, and for religious minorities. It's a law. There was no Sharia law in Algeria. There is a grassroots movement to bring about Sharia law, and things changed. Algeria moves from French to Sharia law. The same applies in Nigeria. The British colonists left a system of law behind. There's a grassroots movement, helped from outside by, among other countries, Saudi Arabia. And Sharia law, Islamic law, is introduced, and things change for women, for gay people, for religious minorities. Egypt, the Islamic Brotherhood, the most famous and most successful Islamist movement of our day. The more power they gain, the more they want to introduce Sharia law, the worse things get for women, for gay people, for religious minorities. I don't think they improve that much for men, but voila. In Syria, in Lebanon, with Hezbollah, everywhere, in Iran, 1979, in the 1950s, 1960s, most part of the 1970s, Iranian women had more freedom than they had all the decades after Sharia law was introduced. So if you, like me, believe that religion is born out of a culture, it makes all the sense in the world that Sharia law is what it is. And I'm not even condemning it in the 7th century. There's a great deal to admire about Islam. It's just outdated. And it's misogynistic. And it's intolerant. And we have found alternative frameworks for morality. It's the 21st century.
Encouraging them to give up this part of their culture is a kind of cultural imperialism.
Is it cultural imperialism to denounce practices and principles of people of color, people who in the past used to be subordinates, and people, let's say anyone outside of the white man, basically? Is that cultural imperialism? Is that cultural imperialism? As a woman born into Islam, my answer is an emphatic no. If you condemn the white man for sexism, if you condemn the white man for being an imperialist, for having slaves, for segregation, for intolerance, and you don't do that for the man of color, regardless of what his color is, on the grounds of cultural imperialism, then essentially what you're saying is only the victims of white men can be liberated. But what about people like me and like all the millions and millions of women? So if you are a victim of sexism perpetrated by an Arab or a Chinese or an Indian, and someone else says something about that and he or she happens to be white, that is cultural imperialism? No, that is a wrong way of reasoning. And what we do, if we go along in this reasoning, is support, basically, the Cairo Declaration of Human Rights, which says we are not born free with unalienable rights, but we are subjects of God. And who God is and what he says is decided by a bunch of men in long dresses and long turbans. And I'm going to be the victim. No way. Cultural imperialism is just a defense mechanism for those people who have an entrenched interest in the status quo to say to those who are fighting for universal human rights are not really universal, they are Western. And I emphatically disagree with that. Am I only giving you just a one-sided view of Islam? Yes. That is open for debate. My perspective is that of a minority. So I'm thankful, first of all, that I can even voice it. Thank you. I also want to remind all of you that the fact that I can voice it is contingent upon the gentlemen in and out of uniform that are here with guns. So my minority position is a minority position because it comes at that price. And the challenge, are there people who agree with you? Yes, there are. They write to me after having read Infidel. They say, I'm a Muslim, I relate to you, but I can't come out because I don't have those gentlemen, because I'm afraid of my father, because I want to finish my studies, because I'm going to be disowned. There is a price for exiting out of Islam. You pay a price for holding my opinion. So thank you for challenging me, because I want to tell you, I wish I could stand as freely as you did there, without these gentlemen, and with no fear, and just air my opinion. I wish I could do that. And Muslims will be free, and I mean those really imprisoned, and there are millions of them, when they can do that without fear. Without fear.